Hi, I'm Jess. I have a bunch of kids, a bunch of businesses, and a bunch of things to say. And this is One Girl Too Much, the potty where we share some of our lessons of learning to go differently and the journey of embracing being too much. Now, Alex, this topic is as woo-woo as I get, but it's perhaps my favourite lesson and a pinnacle of my life changing.
Yep, and we've been deep diving in all these realms of woo-woo the last, I don't even know how many weeks, I'm lost. Learning values, which has been, I never thought, wow, I really need to know about this and it's really going to change my life and really zone in on who I want to be, where I am now, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, the soul searching in the last couple of weeks has been incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a HR problem. I probably should
crying
know for
at work.
literally. But identifying your values is such a key moment. And I think we use the word values all the time, both in like a business sense, but also in personal sense, you know, our family values, our school values, And no one actually understands.
It's a bit broad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always like a blanket,
and
kind
no
of.
one understands what it means or how you use them and the impacts that it has. So we're going to kick off there, that your values are what your core system of beliefs are, the most important thing to you. And in my language, I love to think about it from, if I was to define my perfect day, they are heavily entrenched in that. If I was to choose what was on my gravestone in terms of she lived a life of and it caused this. If it was the North Star that you make all decisions by. And I think there's a real process that nobody talks about where if we know our values and learn what our values are, as we become that sense of, you know, are old enough to have any sort of sense of identity or self-understanding, you can improve your mental health and the paths that you take that get you a lot faster and quicker to where you need to go. And when we have a look at some of the stories of most successful people, they've had something happen in their life that forced them to know what those values are, and they become more successful younger. So when you look at the younger entrepreneurs and thought leaders of our world, there's an event in their life that meant, I know exactly why I'm chasing what I'm chasing and who I am and what's important. I'm going to remove everything else that isn't.
I think it also impacts and has had a positive impact on relationships and building relationships.
Absolutely.
Like I did the 100-word thing with my partner and it was refreshing to see that we had alignment, you know what I mean? Like imagine that we've been 4 years and we're like two ends of the spectrum. And it's nice and refreshing to reaffirm that we're building this life together and we've been in different seasons within this relationship, and it's like, cool, we're on the same path, we're feeling great, we're feeling the same way.
Yeah, and as we change and grow and different people come in and out of our lives, who we are doesn't change, but the way that we fulfill that or the way that it shows up definitely does. And I completely agree, learning to articulate that with the people you know, but even with yourself, the feeling of belonging and confidence and the ability to take risk comes from knowing yourself and others at that level. So when we talk about the 100 words, let's start off with that process. So when we talk about values, Brene Brown has an incredible resource. She has been a guiding light for me in my process with this. And she talks about values as two. You have to get to two. If you care about too much, you care about nothing. Your values are two things. And she has a list of 100 words that you go through, and it's best to read them aloud or have somebody read them to you, because you will have a bodily response to the words that are right for you. You will get a little hair stands up on the back of your neck. You know what they are. Yeah. And it's often not the ones that you think it should be, the ones that your family have told you it should be. For example, the first time you go through this, you circle everything that stands out to you. And I circle family because I'm supposed to want that. I circle this because I'm supposed to want charity and humanity because I'm supposed to want that as a Christian and all of these things. But what my values actually were at the end of this process were impact and recognition.
Well, you're doing well.
I am now. I wasn't when I did this. But cringe. Like, come on. If I was to write my own values,
put that on the tombstone.
That's not literally.
She was fed.
She was an attention junkie. Literally. But I guess different words mean different things to different people too. And it's not about a volume for me, but that's what it was. If my values were family, I'd be
winning. Yeah.
But they're not. And so when you go through that process, you then have to do a bit of a cross-checking process. And there's a few keys to that as well. And Simon Sinek does so much brilliant work about this, not just from a personal level, which is more his recent stuff, but at a business level, he became infamous talking about understanding your why as a business and how it shows up in everything that you do. And any entrepreneurs listening, if your values aren't evident in everything, they're wrong. And that's so important. But you need to look backwards, not forwards. It's not about what you want to be. There'll be signs of who you already are. You don't get to choose these. Whether you believe in God the Creator or the Big Bang, these are ingrained in you.
Yeah, for sure.
And so there will be signs in your childhood. So when I had a look at impact recognition and the girl who had tea parties and made everybody in the house sit there, and I studied drama for a really long time. And then the next successful move I made was in workshops and sales training. Whether I'm telling somebody about Costco and converting them to being a Costco member, or a room full of people are learning something, any influence I can have in anybody's life positively lights me up in a way that nothing else does. And when I think of where I'm happy is the second sign. What has made you proud? What has brought you joy? Where is that space that you lose track of time and you feel like you're playing like a kid again? You also need to have a look at your most painful moments, because the moments that are hard are often reflective of you trying to defend your values, or where there was a disconnect in how you were living. If you are not motivated in life or thriving, it's because you are doing things that are probably not aligned. And it's so much easier said than done to go off the garden path and focused on things like making money, or where the society tells you to go to uni, get married, do this, live in the house, get a mortgage. It's all of these things is so much easier to end up in a life where you go, right, I've done all the things. For me, when I hit 30, instead of having like, oh my gosh, I'm not married yet, I was like, I'm married with 4 kids and 2 businesses and a mortgage. Like, I need to go get drunk in a gutter. I missed that stage of life. Like, I went backwards. I was like, now what? What the hell is life about? Because I've done everything the world told me to do, and what do I do next? Like, hang on. How
do I fill my cup? Yeah, for sure. What point in your journey did you realize that you needed to look further into this, like before you started the deep dive into values? Like, was there a pivotal moment where you're like, oh Lord?
Yeah, I think I did this work in bits and pieces for a really long time, and I just had this insatiable thirst for more that lent me up the garden path in a few ways, and probably why I've had so many different businesses that haven't succeeded and are part of my journey now, and different things, but just I'm never content. And I remember when I sort of hit that 30 mark and I had the business and we were living comfortably and I had the kids and I had the husband and life was great, but I was bored. I was so miserable, and I was like, well, what makes me happy? How do I find happiness? And if I don't have a big goal I'm working towards, even now, if I'm being really vulnerable, it's a very hard thing for me to think about what makes me happy. I don't enjoy what normal people enjoy. I can't imagine anything worse than going out to dinner with a bunch of people.
Yeah. Well, I was about to ask, like, you're so busy all the time. Are you fulfilled and are you happy? Or are you still seeking that feeling? Do you know that feeling?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think that I know to some degree.
Yeah.
I think that I need to do better at finding joy and gratefulness in the mundane. And that's been a big lesson this year. But for me, I know exactly what I want to do. Yeah. And I can see the roadmap there. I can see that there's a logistical issue now. Like, I have bills to pay. I've got businesses to run. I can't, like, there's only one of me.
Yeah.
So it's this constant battle of what I should do and what I want to do. And it's that constant battle of risk versus security. That if I didn't have 6 dependents and a breadwinner of a household and investments and all these things in my life, would I be doing things differently? Probably. Yeah. But I'm also so great. Like, I also don't think I'd even be here without those things. I don't think I ever would have started this work if being a business owner I didn't have a choice. Yeah. Like, I had to find a way to make this life work. But I can see where my impact and recognition is, and I've shed a lot of that imposter-y feeling and fear, and I had to have a lot of conversations with my team and my family around what making my life as public as it is means and how it's going to be tricky.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't, like I'm good. I love TikToking. I love having these chats with you. I don't need 1 million people to watch it. I hope they do, because the conversations that we're starting through this podcast and my TikTok light me up. There's women going, hang on a minute. There's other people out there like me. How cool. You know, maybe I'm a bit less broken. But I'm good. As long as I am having impact on one person, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm all right. I just would love a bit more space to explore other things outside of work at the moment.
If you had a week off, don't have to think about anything, don't have to pay a bill, don't have to feed a small child, what are you doing?
Yeah, I would love to travel. I think that it was never a big value for me. And when I do travel, I got somewhere to go, people to see, things to children to look after and all those things.
Yeah.
But when I'm outside of my environment, I had an experience this year, in some of the harder parts where a girlfriend and I went to Orange. And what happens when you're outside of your environment is really
incredible.
Magical. Yeah. So I'm craving a change of environment. My routine and being big days in the office this year and big days at home mumming when I'm not there. I'm craving learning. I got a big stack of books that I want to read, and I'm not an avid reader. I absorb a lot of short form content and then we'll go and do my own research. I've got to find it takes longer. I could have read 10 books in that time, but I know how I learn. But there's some really interesting topics that I want to get right in my head. I would love to write a book. There are so many things at the moment that I'm feeling empowered by this journey that what I have to say is valid. Whereas for ages it was like, does anyone care?
Suppress. Yeah. But it was yourself suppressing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I also am feeling really called to mum a bit more, which is very unusual for me.
I love that.
I'm not somebody who craves time with my children, but I think that our family, we've had a bit of a moment where we are so strong in our family values as well. And doing this work with my teenagers has always been really important to me. And through the hecticness of the year, we have veered a little bit left. And I just want to come back this Christmas and be like, let's just remember who we are and
for sure.
what we do and how we do it.
For sure.
But yeah, what are your values, Alex? She thought she was getting out of that. See all the questions she's
I
asking?
can't remember the second one, but I know the first one was leisure.
Yeah.
Which leisure to me just means like no pressure.
Yeah.
Like
the grind.
you know, just waking up with clear head and doing things because I want to do them.
That I've just had a light bulb, and we'll edit this out if you don't want me to share. But I think like in terms of our working relationship, because Alex works in my agency, like can you see when we become disconnect how that happens? Like if I overmanage Alex, she freezes. She's like, what the hell do you want me to do?
Yeah.
When, where, how?
Yeah.
When I'm like, this is the bigger picture, go make it happen. She thrives. And that's been a real learning curve for me. So as you've said that, you know how we explored that a little bit this week. I was like, where's that line?
Yeah.
When do I stop being helpful here? How can I get it, you know, closer to how we work, but use your magic, you know?
Yeah.
And when you said leisure and the pressure of having to be somewhere at a certain time, I was like, whoa, that's where you break at work a little bit, when it's like, got to have this done first and this done that second, and then you're like, my brain
doesn't
works
work that way.
itself.
Yeah. Literally.
That's such a light bulb for me.
There you go.
What's your second one?
I don't remember.
Don't you?
No, I don't.
This feels inconvenient.
Swear, I don't remember.
I think you're still nutting it out, but I think that you're discovering you're a bit of a big lifer, that there's something out there for you to impact the world, people, and you.
I agree. The question I asked you about, do you feel fulfilled? I don't feel fulfilled.
No.
And like I feel like I've had the previous feeling of where I felt most fulfilled, most happy. But I feel like even like in hindsight, even when I was in those moments, I didn't realize that's where I was. And now that I'm out of that, I'm like, wow, that was great. How do I get back there?
But then there's the added hurdle of, as women, we find guilt because we're supposed to be fulfilled by a child.
Yeah. Oh, I don't feel that way, to be honest.
No.
And I feel like because he was such a surprise, God bless him, we really adapted to he's coming everywhere with us.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Like he was 4 months old and we had his little headphones on at a concert. We were raging on.
Love it.
But like mothering brings me fulfillment in a different way.
Yeah, see, I get nothing. It's a job on my to-do list. I love
in
my
a
kids,
different
but
way.
I get nothing personally from it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's, and then there's the other layer where it's easy to know what brings you fulfillment, but you can't do it when you have kids. So like if you are heavily around freedom and just not having, like, being by yourself and just calm, and that is a huge category of people, right? They generally, it's like at a very broad spectrum. There's people who are motivated by different things and want to achieve something, and there's people who want to have to achieve nothing, who just love to look around and be present and not in that pace. And if that is you, but you have children and bills, like, it's like, well, it's all well and good to say, well, I want this, and this was a convo hubby and I had, like, his biggest goals in life are just not something we can do in this season of parenting. They're just not something we can pursue. And that's horrible, because it's literally the definition of sacrifice. And how do you fill your cup in that? So I think there's definitely some layers. It's not as simple as learn who you are, throw caution to the wind, off you go it. But for me and everybody that I have talked about this process with, it becomes a North Star for every single decision. Should you buy an investment property? What are your values? Should you invest in this? What are your values? Should you chase the career? What are your values? Not what are your parents, not what should you, like, and you have no idea how ingrained that is until you start this process. Especially particular cultures are so definitive, and as Australians we think we don't have a culture. Yeah, we do. We just don't talk about it.
Yeah, and so does Zimbabwean men.
Absolutely. Wives of Zimbabweans, there's a whole lot of culture there that are equal parts beautiful and hard when you cross borders in relationships. But as Australians, we have a huge culture. It's just we're not as articulate as others. It's almost like we gaslight our culture into we really do. And maybe that's a body for another day. But the moral of this lesson is to go and start that work to find your values. Have some tissues at the ready. It is really hard to think about what your life's purpose is and the life that you want to lead, and how your current decisions in life align towards that or not.
But also I feel like once you start, it's a bit addictive.
Absolutely. You'll never look at the world the same.
Yeah.
And for any Christian girlies to tack on the end, if you then extend that into things like spiritual gifts, it all ties together, and you can see from your childhood that you are ingrained to pursue something, and you can mold a life around that. Brene Brown, Simon Sinek are fantastic resources for that. But we're going to leave it there. That is a wrap on all things values and our journey. We, as always, are going to be dropping podcasts weekly. You can also find us on YouTube and Too Much Jess on TikTok for more shenanigans. Thanks so much, Alex.
Bye.
Bye.